Terra Magical Adept has a truly absurd saga on her flip side, one that screams specs. Why would you build this if you can't even keep track of your own triggers? To which I say, yes. I'm going to give you 3 different builds for Terra Magical Adept, a Final Fantasy cards only summons build, a token doubler saga focused control deck, and the weird one, this time built around exploiting Chapter 4's double WUBRG. This first build uses only Final Fantasy cards, focusing on summon sagas and legendary creatures that transform into them. We copy them with Esper Terra, slam up to 3 extra lore counters on them for multiple effects, and use those hasty duplicates to smash face. We can also manipulate the counters to repeat chapters or keep summons around longer. Just remove the final counter in response to the last chapter trigger. And since it's up to 3 lore counters, we've got some control over the chaos that Terra brings. Adding multiple lore counters at once causes multiple chapters to trigger.
Here comes the science bit. Concentrate.
If a saga has 1 lore counter and you add 2 more, it will trigger chapter 2 and 3, but not 1 again. And if multiple chapters trigger at once, they go on the stack together in any order that you choose. So maybe you want to see what Bahamut or Primal Odin will draw on their 3rd chapter before deciding how to direct their removal on the chapters before. You might see a specific type of removal in the cards you draw and use their chapter removal elsewhere. Are you also seeing what happens if Riku Resourceful Guardian is in play when Primal Odin adds a 2nd lore counter to itself? That's an unblockable knockout for the win, and then we can remove the 2nd lore counter with Owaka Travelling Merchant and Attacking Garnet or Clash of Econs to do that to someone else next turn. That's the beauty of this deck. The creature sagas solve the how do we win with this enchantment type by giving them the ability to smash face. And as summons are doomed to die, we have many FF only ways to bring them back. Hope of Spira, which makes summons super scary with some extra trample and lifelink and ward, oh my, and a finality counter, which gadzooks is a super removable counter. In fact, I put Sin Unending Cataclysm as a kind of reset for all our saga summons. That would include the finality counters as well. Ambrosia Whiteheart can be flashed in response to that final chapter, triggering to return the summons to hand for a recast, or, if all is lost, why not gift the summons soon to be sacked with Stiltskin Moogle Merchant to draw us a card and let them briefly enjoy our summon before its demise. Also, Genova turning a summon on its penultimate chapter into a mutant so you can draw a ton of cards when it bites it is a reason sometimes we want to see our summons go. This is a showcase deck, so I included Vanille and Fang for references. We can't have an FF-only deck without the promise of Ragnarok appearing, which is neither a summon or a saga, but fills the home in this tribute to the franchise. But there is one major problem with an FF-only deck, and that's the mana base. So the lands that we can get from the precons in the main set are often tapped. That's why we go hard on the ramp and mana available to us, and we have all the talismans, green ramp we can get our hands on. There's 3 summons that aid us as well. There's a ton of draw and velocity to see as many cards as possible, but I forbear, because any deck that lets me cast the Major Sisters and Fat Chocobo, or relive the achievement of finding Knights of the Round materia, or that moment when Shiva bursts through the ice, shattering it in different directions, is one I am beyond excited to play. But if we let go of the purist mentality and add in non-FF token doublers and triplers, we get this abomination. The aim is to have Terra make a copy of an impactful saga, then have that token copied with the doubling effect, creating copies of the entire state of that token, including the adding of the 3 lore counters to give us Triggerpalooza, the original saga ticking away, and a copy doing everything all at once. And as inherently sagas are control pieces, the majority of them have some kind of removal or impediment attached. Having all those effects at once and one ticking along is back-breaking. And we haven't even got onto 3 Blind Mice yet. So, if Terra clones 3 Blind Mice, you'll get the Chapter 1 effect, which is the mouse token, and then if you add 2 more counters, you get Chapters 2 and 3, which copy a token you control, which would result in 2 additional token copies of 3 Blind Mice and 3 mouse tokens. If 3 Blind Mice is a token, then it can target and copy itself with the Chapter 2 and 3 triggers, and only the copy directly made by Terra gets sacrificed at the end of the turn, so those tokens will stick around to do more on the next turn, which is absolutely gross. And leaning on non-FF cards mean we get to manipulate counters even more. Thrall and Hex Parasite can remove Sigurd, and Unnatural Restoration can add Resourceful Defense, can stockpile, and with all those counters flying onto sagas, all will be one becomes very dangerous, especially in multiple copies. But now, onto the weird build, the double WUBRG, or as I like to call it, Wynberg. This build ignores all the lore counter manipulation, focuses in on Chapter 4 of Terra and its ability to make double WUBRG mana. Achieving double WUBRG, 2 of every colour pip, is my bougie magical way of saying, I own everything. But how does one invest that mana? Well, I'm glad you asked. So, you can cast Progenitus, which is a 10/10 with protection from everything for double WUBRG. Can't be blocked, enchanted, equipped, targeted, shrugs off damage like an ill-fitting Kagul. You could cheat it into play in other ways, but doing it, hard casting it, comes from money fill. And remember, it's a bit rubbish because if it's grouped together with another creature with banding, you can actually block Progenitus if you block the creature with banding, which makes Progenitus completely unplayable. Sad times. You could go for the door to nothingness win. When you ask Marina Vendrell where the bathroom is and she says it's 2 doors down on the right, maybe put your ear up to the door before you open it for the sound of the whistling aeons of dark space. This isn't the pleasantly smelling lavatorial facilities I was looking for. This is the door to nothingness. For the handsome price of double WUBRG, you can dramatically yawn and have target opponent leave. And I suggest you do this by saying, I give you leave to go, and then untap the door with the aforementioned Cura's follower. I actually didn't mention it, but you've got a Cura's follower as well, before mouthing to another opponent, next. Double WUBRG lets us put all gods and creatures from our library into play at once. How many gods are we running in this build? 1. Perforos, Bronze Bludgeon, but it will give all other creatures haste. So why did I include it? Well, I've put in Masked Nexus, which means all the creatures in our library are gods. So that double WUBRG payment will result in Phyrexian Praetors and demons and avatars, oh my, entering the battlefield. One of those avatars, one of 2 that we're running, is Primeval Spawn from Dominaria United Commander, Vigilance, Trample and Lifelink, but most importantly, it's a way to sort of pseudo-store double WUBRG in a body that when it dies, exiles the top 10 cards of our library and lets us cast up to 10 mana values worth of that without paying its mana cost. And of course, all these things, there are easy ways of doing it, more efficient ways, and to that I say, yes. Another thing you can do with double WUBRG is cast 10 mana spells. We've got Storm Herd, so we can have a life's worth of Pegasi. Primal Surge, so we can put all permanents in our deck into play at once. And there's only 4 non-permanent cards in this build. We've also got Time Stretch, we've got some Eldrazi, Ulmog the Defiler. We've got Sway of the Stars to restart everything. But how are we going to create all the mana quickly and abundantly? Well, Terra precludes copying herself due to the legendary restriction, but Spark Double copying her would not be legendary, and thus makes her a valid target for chapters 1 to 3, copying itself. You can keep going until you have as many hasty copies of Spark Double Terra as you want, and while that's happening, chapters 1 to 3 will target itself. We can resolve chapter 4 first, exiling itself, and then chapters 1 to 3 will fizzle due to having no legal target anymore, so it's not an infinite chain. You do have some control to stop it. But you could just play with Barbara Wright out and read ahead to chapter 4, making double WUBRG, exiling Terra and returning her, spending 6 of that double WUBRG, letting you keep 3 or 4 in any combination you want, flip her back over, read ahead to chapter 4 again, making double WUBRG again, and so on and so forth, repeat ad infinitum, or choose to read ahead to chapter 1 to 3 to stop the chaining effect. And that means you can go for the Helix Pinnacle win, also another real life achievement pop if you manage that. And to take this deck to new heights of depravity, Enchanted Evening makes everything enchantments and therefore copyable with Terra, but I've included Aura Thief as well. And if that dies, well, you then steal everyone's stuff, including their lands. And there are other ways, redundancy if you will, to make WUBRG. There's Bloomtender, Gigantha, Feybarrow Elder, I've got Fist of Suns in there, there is one of the versions of Joda, Archmage, whatever he's called, so you can pay 5 to cast these spells, and win Consulate Phyrexians, which have sagas on the reverse, which are also copyable by Terra. It's scary, ridiculous stuff. If you enjoyed this humble free content today, a like and subscribe would mean the world to me, and I will see you on the next one.